I'm going to be drawing something a little bit different, and this week I'm going to be starting off with storyboarding. Let's get drawing. Okay, so first up I just draw up a grid, this way I can get 9 frames onto the one page. Then we got to get our script open. You're right, yep, great script. Okay, perfect. So let's get started with drawing the bush. Yeah, and then you just copy and paste it into the next frame so that now I can draw a character walking past. The character I chose was Darius, mainly because he's kind of menacing and, you know, he's looking for someone to kill. I needed someone that sort of got that menacing look. And so as you can see, he turns his head, looks into the bush, you know, just glances at it. As you do, when you're looking around, looking for someone to kill, you're going to be looking at things. So he looks at the bush, but then he stops, because he's like, this bush isn't quite what I thought it was. And then there's a shot from Darius' perspective of the bush. Cho'Gath is slightly bigger than the bush, because realistically, he can't really fit in one, let's be honest. And there he is, he's very very shifty with his eyes, holding up the grass in front of his face. But yeah, and then Darius just walks off because he obviously doesn't see Cho'Gath in the bush in the end. So that was just a really rough section of it, and now I'm just gonna go over it all, make it look a little bit nicer and a little bit cleaner. So first up, we draw the lines. And then you color it in, and the reason I'm doing this is not actually quite coloring, I'm just toning it. And the reason I do this is just to make it pop out more and sort of give it more of a feel as to what the final product's going to look like, without actually having to select the color palette yet. Now I gotta bring my reference up, because I gotta make sure that Darius actually looks like Darius, right? And so, reference is ridiculously important. As you can see, I'm having trouble drawing the X, and that's because I didn't have a reference of the X up. And so, once I get the X reference up, I actually managed to draw the X pretty quickly, and then get on to toning up Darius, and then adding in the background and the foreground. So copy and paste comes in very handy here. Just copy and paste the first frames and put them in there, behind the bush, just sneakily behind the bush. Have them walking. What I like to do is use a nice color like red to show movement in my storyboards, because it's very, I guess, it stands out a lot. And so it's like, okay, that's what's happening. Like, you know exactly what's happening in that frame because that arrow tells you everything. Now the next frame, all that's happening is he's turning his head. So just draw a turn of the head, and then, yeah, copy paste. Another arrow showing you he's turning his head, because in a storyboard it's very important to show what it is that's happening in the frame. Usually there's actually a box for dialogue, but because most of my animations don't actually have dialogue in it, I don't really need it, and the storyboard's very basic. You can have it a lot more intense, but I generally keep it quite basic because I have to do one every week, and I like to try and keep the time to a minimum, obviously. So just 9 frames on a page is good enough for me. I end up lightening up the background on each of the shots because I felt that Darius was blending in too much to the background, and so by just brightening the background, it really pops Darius out a bit from them. And now it's time to draw Cho'Gath. I draw the bush first, and I actually scale it down because I feel like Cho'Gath should probably be really big. Not just a little bit big, he should be really big compared to the bush. And so, yeah, I made the bush a little bit smaller. It took me a while to get Cho'Gath right here. I just couldn't quite get the head right, couldn't get the eyes right, couldn't get anything right. I ended up deciding to put the grass in front of his face, covering his eyes so that I didn't have to draw his eyes. Super secret tip, if you don't want to draw eyes, draw something in front of them. Finally got the head right, and then I decided it would be funny to put sort of grass on top of his claws and on top of his head. So draw those trees, those beautiful trees. Oh, look how beautiful they are. And then I color Cho'Gath in, well, tone him up. And finish off toning up the background. And I realized the bush is actually too light, and so I darken it up a bit. And there you go, that's that frame done, and now copy and paste, yep, that frame again, because it's the exact same frame, nothing changes there, and then he walks off. And the arrow, obviously showing the direction, because very important to show what's happening. Now, there were still 2 frames left, and I was like, yeah, I kind of want to fill up a page. So I just wanted to add a couple of frames, and I thought a really cool way of doing that would be to add the shots of his feet just walking. That way, you can have it sort of menacing, maybe some menacing music in the background. You're not quite sure exactly who it is yet. Like, maybe it's Darius, maybe it's someone else that's got like a bit of armor. And then on the next scene, you actually see who it is, and it's Darius. And then you can see he's looking for someone to kill. And so it's kind of a cool opening shot having the feet walking past. And so it's very basic. It's only really 3 scenes, I suppose. The walking and the looking, and then the Cho in the bush, and then Darius walks away. But this isn't necessarily the final storyboard. This is just 1 page of it. Might add some scenes later of like close-ups of Darius's face and stuff. And at the end, maybe cut back to Cho'Gath. So that was the first ever episode of Penta Draws. Yeah, the storyboard that we did today is actually going to be used in the animation for this week. So come back on Friday and you'll be able to see it all finished. Let me know what you guys want to see next week in the comments, and maybe I'll draw that for you. So